we go. Atomic ER, Sons of Our Fathers, unreleased.
When I wake up, all bottled up, a ray of sunshine tells me I am not alone. For 2 long days, I miss your face, 'cause I'm in hell.
What's up, Michael?
I just want you to come home.
What's up, Zach? I miss your musk. What up, Carmen? What's up, Natalie?
For all I sing and all I was, I swear I'm yours. Find the time when time is lost to feel
Stuff.
like I am not alive. And all I am, and all I am, and all I bleed. Well, I bleed. I say I do anything for you, and I'm dying old, and I'm come unglued. I say I do anything for you, and I'm dying old, and I'm come unglued. I'm dying old. Well, I'm dying. Well, I'm dying. And I'm dying old. Well, I'm dying old. Well, I'm dying. Well, I'm dying. I say I do anything for you, and I'm dying old, and I've come unglued. I say I do anything for you.
Y'all remember those like super high harmonies that Howard Benson said he's going to get Cove from Say Us In to sing? That's one of them right there.
Say I do anything for you, and I'm dying old, and I've come when you're gone. I sleep alone, and there's the window that I deny. When you're gone, I sleep alone, and there's the window that I deny. When you're gone, I sleep alone, and there's the window that I deny.
Man, that recording is so good. What's really cool about that recording, and I found this out, or not found it out, but hadn't heard this in so long. I went to find the studio version of Antonic ER, or I Sleep Alone. We changed the name for the Benson record because they didn't understand what Antonic ER meant, and I was like, it doesn't matter if you understand it, it's not for you. Anyways, so I pulled up Sons of Our Fathers off of the Meriwether Bandcamp page, which is meriwether.bandcamp.com. It has like everything we've ever put out on there, and you can listen to it for free. But I pulled it up and I was listening to this version. I was like, man, that's like the best I've ever sang in my entire life. Those harmonies and shit like that. I mean, obviously he pushed me to like give my best performances, and that's one of the things he's most known for as a producer. But it was just like hearing, I honestly, I haven't listened to those versions in probably 5 years. For a long time, I was just kind of like angry at music in general, and especially like after, you know, post Sons of Our Fathers time, and it makes me emotional. But what's really awesome about going back and listening to it today and playing it for you guys now is yesterday someone mentioned they requested the song Two Hallelujahs, and I was like, I don't even know what they're talking about. I don't know what song they're talking about. So I saw it in the list. I was like, oh, okay. I remember that was on Sons of Our Fathers, and I went back and listened to it. And what's crazy is at the end of I Sleep Alone, and on the choruses, it's kind of hidden in the track, but you can hear like the backup vocals doing this da 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 da. Anyways, one of the things I like to do as a writer is like call back like what might seem to be insignificant musical pieces from other songs. And so I was listening to Two Hallelujahs, which is one of my favorite songs on this entire album. And that shows you like how long it's been since I've gone to listen to this that I forgot that it was even on there. But on the chorus of Two Hallelujahs at the very end, like this big crescendo, that line da 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 comes in. I'm gonna play it for you guys real quick. I won't play the whole song unless you guys want to hear the whole song. Can I talk about what happened with the record label? Bert, can I talk about what happened with the record label?
Just me. I'm just me. Yes, I'm just me.
Another example of like my best vocal performances. But this is that guitar line. Listen.
Now I'm free to be the me that I really wanna be. You can't hold me down. The ground is cold and familiar. Now
Ross Mook in the house.
to be the me that you never wanna see. I am stronger now. The crowd is so unfamiliar.
Man, that whole album sounds so freaking good, dude. I was listening to it earlier, and Amy was like, "What's that?" And I was explaining it to her, and I got super emotional. My eyes were all watery. There was dust in the air. There was just dust everywhere in the air. I think I'm gonna do that song pretty soon. I don't know. I don't remember who requested it, but I love that song. I can talk about whatever I want, right, Bert? I don't know why I always like, Bert, can I do this? Freaking do whatever I want. Maybe I just feel more confident if you say yes. But yeah, talking about the record label, I don't know. What do you want to know about what happened with the record label? Hey, Jen Hatch. Hey, Ryan DeLong. Hey, Bryce. I still remember asking you what your influencers were way back when we first saw you at Renaissance in Lafayette. Do you remember what you said? I don't remember what I said. I want to say like what it is now is the same. I really, if you remember what I said, I'm very interested to know what I said. Mike Ledoux. What did they do with your record after you recorded it? The label. Why did they never release the album?
You could look at Wikipedia.
Is it on Wikipedia? I don't think the whole thing's on Wikipedia. So, Glassjaw, of course. Queen, the best frontman of all time. There will never be as good a frontman as Freddie Mercury. Prince, I think, comes in like close tie second. I probably said safety meeting. So yeah, we got signed to a subsidiary of Universal Music. I don't remember what year it was. The contract was like to Universal proper, and the subsidiary was a subsidiary called Suretone, and it was called that because this guy Jordan Shore was given basically his own like little side label. He was running Geffen, and they were like, hey, we're going to turn Geffen into something a little different catalog wise. But we want you to take all the rock bands and go start this Suretone thing. His like biggest claim to fame was he broke Limp Bizkit. Like he got them to where they were basically by like making them tour 300 shows out of the year for 5 years straight, just like hustle. Actually, no, it was not a 360 contract. We had like one of the last deals that wasn't 360. And a 360 contract basically means that the record label, I may say this incorrectly if somebody knows differently, but it's basically like the record label runs all facets of what you do. So like they run the booking, they run the publishing, they run the A&R, they run management, they run merch, they run every last bit, right? And that was like due to record labels starting to lose money when streaming and iTunes and stuff like that became a thing, and people were buying less like physical albums, and like the Napster shit happened, all that stuff. But I mean, and obviously like in general, I think at least during that time, rock and roll was like on a decline popularity wise, I guess, in you could say like in pop mass culture or whatever. I do think that rock and roll is having like its comeback right now. But we did not have a 360 deal. So we were able to choose management. We were able to choose, who our booking agent was. We handled all of our merch. We, Cody McCarty and Jamie McCarty, they printed our merch pretty much since day one. They to provide financial and other support to the artists, including direct advances as well as support and marketing. In turn, the artist agrees to give the company a percentage of an increased number of their revenue streams, often including sales of recorded music. Exactly. Exactly what Ashley said. So we get signed, and one of the big reasons why we chose that label over the other two that were giving us offers was essentially we were young and they were offering us more money, and we thought that more money meant that we would have more resources at our disposal. And obviously hindsight, that was a poor choice, but I think it's part of why I'm here now doing the things that I'm doing musically moving forward, which I'm very excited about. But the record label, we did a record. We got to kind of pick and choose producers, and we were looking at, I think, Terry Date, who did like some of the early Deftones stuff. Spoiler, it did not. And Howard Benson was a huge one. We were in love with Howard Benson's production based almost entirely off of like the first two Blind Side records that he did, because the guitars are insane. Like they're so huge, and there's layers, but it's simple, and there's dynamics, and vocally, like the vocal performances were just insane. So we did this record with Howard. Mike Plotnikoff, who did Dr. Feelgood, he was our engineer. We had a guy, Hatch, that was kind of like back and forth. This guy Paul did there was two Pauls, one that was the guitar tech and one that did like all the Pro Tools and editing, and then Howard. And the way it worked was like we wrote I moved out to Los Angeles and I just wrote songs for this record. I think I wrote something like 70 songs, and then I would show them to the label and they'd be like, all of these suck, go back. And then I would show them like just 3 at a time instead of 70 at a time. Like, oh, one of these is great. So we had this like master list of songs. We pulled some songs off of Make Your Move to redo, and we would then start pre-production. We did pre-production in a place called Mate Studio, which is like pretty famous like rehearsal area in California, like North Hollywood. It's in that Dave Grohl documentary, Sound City. There's like a bunch of small like rooms, not small. I mean, it's almost like, imagine like a motel, right? That's just like one floor and like in an L shape. Well, like all of the rooms are basically stages that are set up with microphones, and it's all set up to record, and there's couches and stuff like that, and they whatever. And then there's like one huge rehearsal room that is for if you're rehearsing for like you know, a big like festival type gig. And that big room had been, I don't know if it might still be, but it had been rented out by Guns N' Roses for like 17 years straight. So if you wanted to use that room, you had to like get in touch with their management. While we were there, I think Rob Halford did a photo shoot there. But one of the craziest things is like one day they walked up and they were like, hey, don't come in tomorrow. They're filming a new show called Suge Knight's Unfinished Business, where basically he's getting rappers from the Bloods and the Crips to rap battle each other. So just don't come in. And so we didn't. But I kind of wish that we had. So we did pre-production there. Howard would come and listen to it. I feel like I'm going off on a tangent. You guys just really want to know what happened with the record label. Anyways, we did a record with Howard. It came out really well. We gave on a few things that the record label wanted to do. Like, you know, there was a couple of songs that we didn't want to put on it and a couple of songs that we did. And we kind of met in the middle there. It always helps when you've got a manager who's like your champion and fighting for you and is like supporting you as an artist and not just a yes man to the label, which is what a 360 thing does. I feel, but, so we picked the songs, we went and tracked them. Howard basically would show up in the pre-production studio, be like, let me hear the songs. And he'd be like, all right, that one's good to go. That one's good. This one needs a new chorus. I'll come back in a week. And literally would like leave. He'd be in there for like 5 minutes and roll out. And then he'd come back and we play him, you know, any updates. And once he signed off, we went into the studio. Their studio was like flawless. The way that they pumped records out, you know, like they were doing records in 3 weeks because they had this system. And I think there's pros and cons to that. Pros being like, hey, you know, every part that you're supposed to play, you get in, you track it, you've done all like the creative elsewhere and not in like the recording studio environment. I think the downside is like if you go watch like the Funky Monks DVD it's the black and white film that the Chili Peppers made of them making Blood Sugar Sex Magic. It's and like they rented this or bought this house in the Hollywood Hills where like the Beatles and Jimi Hendrix first did LSD together, and they just made it into like a house / studio, and they lived in it for like a year and a half making that record. And it's one of the greatest records I think of all time in rock history. So yeah, In and Out was the deal, but I got sick, you know, halfway through. I had like throat surgery, all this crazy stuff. I had to go on like vocal leave and rest for like 5 weeks. And we started the album in November. So by the time we took that break, it was like, you know, Thanksgiving, then Christmas holidays. We didn't get back in the studio until January. Took a couple weeks to finish it up. It was just crazy time wise. So that cost so much extra money. We were just spending money. Then the record was finalized and we listened to it, and we, you know, Chris Lord Alge mixed it, who's a huge name mixing engineer, and he's just the best. Like I walked in there to listen to the tracks with Bert, and it was like my birthday. So that's how late. So we started in November. My birthday's May 9th. That's how long it was before we were hearing mixes. All the while like trying to figure out how do we support ourselves, kind of coming back and forth between California and Louisiana, playing shows, etc. We did watch a lot of Lost. We got like all the seasons on DVD and got lost. I think Steve binged like Sex and the City, if I remember correctly. But yeah, the mixes, we were listening to mixes. They were great. We were super stoked. And then it was like summer. So we were like, well, we're going to go on tour. We started touring. We would be first of 4 bands or first of 3 bands, like not even main support, because we didn't have a national name for ourselves. So we'd get like 20 to 30 minutes a night. We'd have to set up in front of like 3 or 4 bands gear. So we had no room. And back then, at least, if you've ever seen us back in that time, like we were very energetic on stage, kind of jumping up and down. Maybe not as good as Chris Lott is at being a baller of energy on stage, but we had fun, and it was legit. It was real. It wasn't something that we faked. We genuinely fed off of each other energy wise on stage. But when you give us like 5 feet wide and 2 feet deep, what do? So lots of like hitting each other. I know I hit Steve in the head in Philadelphia and gave him stitches with the guitar. Just crazy shit like that. But the label had signed off on the record, and we just started touring, kind of waiting to hear on like a release date. They would be like, okay, we're going to release this record, Q1 of that following year. And so we were like, cool, we'll tour our asses off to try and grind and build a name for ourselves, everywhere that we possibly can. Then Q1 of that year would come up and they'd be like, hey, we signed Swayze and gave him a show on MTV. He's this like rapper dude from Malibu, and he's got a show. So we're going to put his album out Q1. You guys will come out Q2. We're like, fine, whatever. We'll keep touring. Q2 would come up and they'd be like, hey, we signed Chris Cornell and he just did a record with Timberland. So we're going to put that out Q2. You guys will be Q3. And we're like, fine, whatever. Kept touring. So we did that. And it was like, I don't remember how many times they pushed it back, but like it must have been 6 or 7 quarters of us and at the time we're just relentlessly touring. Like we were doing 280 shows a year for like 2 or 3 years straight. And we were really good live because we basically practiced every day. After a while, you're talking like 3 years now from getting signed to like, when is this thing going to come out, from first to last. Like you start to get burnt out, and we had been basically playing. So we couldn't play new music. We couldn't write new music. We had to play the certain music. We didn't have an album to sell. All we had was like the t-shirts that I was designing as much as possible to try and make any extra money. You're talking like $100, $200 a night guarantee as like the first of 4. And then so that's paying for gas, it's paying for hotels, it's paying for food. The label would give us tour support money like once a quarter. It wasn't a ton, but it was what we used to survive off of, essentially. Anybody who's done heavy touring knows how it is. It's like, it's not glamorous. You're exhausted. You got to get somewhere early, set up, sound check, figure out something to do with yourself for a couple of hours, then go do this thing. And then, you play, you get exhausted. You might have a hotel room that night, or you've got to jump back in the van and drive for 5 hours because you're playing at a festival and the check-in is at 10 o'clock and it's 6 hours away. Chris said, I saw your guitar player throw a pick once and it hit a female fan in the eye. She wasn't hurt or anything, and she actually loved it and cherished it after pulling it out of her eyelid. One of the funniest things I've witnessed in my life. It's just lawsuits, man. So many lawsuits waiting to happen. But yeah, so we just got so burnt out. And we were getting older, and when you're in that phase of like mid to late 20s and you start, some people get married, some people want to start families. And when you have more adult responsibilities, you've got to figure out a way to provide for your family. And, making $200 a night for 5 people, splitting that and doing that 280 days out of the year with no other source of income becomes a little stressful. So it was like at that time that we started to discuss with the record label, like, what are our options here? Like, can we please figure out something to do? And at that same time, we learned that Jordan Shore and Shore Tone is getting pushed out of Universal altogether. That it was all part of this like master plan of getting him out of the company by removing him from Geffen, giving him this small little entity, and then basically being like, fuck off, right? Starting Line, there's an entire like I think mini documentary that they did about Jordan Shore and that whole thing. But basically, we were promised a lot of things that never came through by somebody who kind of had a reputation for doing that. We had no idea, but even though our contract was with Universal proper, I think that we would like reach out to Brenda Romano and Jimmy Iovine and those guys and basically be like, hey, can you guys push this out for us? It's really great. You spent like a ton of money on this record. Howard Benson produced it. Chris Lord Alge mixed it. It's a great album. We are good live. We are tight. We have put the work in. And they basically were like, if Jordan Shore had even a pinky finger involved, we're not doing shit with anything. And so basically, we were done. Like they weren't going to release it. We can't release it. The deal that we had was they owned the masters. We owned the songs, but they owned the masters of the recording, which means that it wasn't until like 2011 that we were able to do anything with any of those songs. Right. And by then the band had all but disintegrated, like talk about like having so much momentum and then that blow. And you basically realize not only have you been, pushing for for 3 or 4 years, just grinding, waiting for this album to get released. But now you find out that as the industry is starting to crash, like Ashley said, and things like that are happening, that behind your back, these guys knew all along that your stuff wasn't going to come out. And so it's just like a huge defeat, it's a blow to everything, and that's when we kind of started to try to figure out what to do. We took ourselves off the label proper. We did our own record, Plug in the Snakes, which if you listen to that album, it's an angry album. I think it's great. It's another one of those things I don't listen to it except for like once every 2 or 3 years. But when I do, I'm like, oh man, these songs were really great. But you could tell like how angry we were. And then it just kind of from there just fell apart, Too long. Didn't read. Did I lose everybody on that tangent? Did I answer your question? Is anybody out there? Spencer, Plug in the Snakes is dope. I think Plug in the Snakes is definitely dope. Danny Moore, Pits Rips. There's some really great songs on that, man. Luis Mariani had a shred solo on one of those. We had a ska band do some horns on 1 or 2 songs. It was one of those things that we could do whatever we want. We don't have to answer to anybody. Brian Bate produced it. Brent's here. Yes. Is the song that you submitted to Andrew Lufkin and Sony off the album you recorded with that label? I don't know which one you mean. Casey Wells, Casey was our tour manager. He knows. Spud was our guitar tech. I mean, on top of having 4 or 5 guys in the band, we've got Casey and Spud, who are our dearest friends that are there to help us, trying to pay them anything we possibly can. Just, it was relentless, and it was inevitably, there's just inevitable burnout in that lifestyle, and like I said, I was for so long, even though I did other projects, the Discovery Corps stuff and Arrows and Grinders and things like that. I didn't give it 100% ever since then. And it was all about my perspective. It was like a bad breakup where someone that you've been with for like 10 years is like, hey, I don't want to be with you anymore. I mean, this has never happened to me. I'm just saying, I assume this is what it is like. But, you know, they're like, hey, I don't want to be with you anymore. And they don't give you a reason. They're just like, they just leave. Never see them again. You know, just crushed. And it took me a long time to get out of that. It took me like hitting a personal bottom a handful of years ago to kind of reevaluate my perspective and realize that like there are things that I can control and there's things I can't control. And if I only focus on the things that I can control, then I can look at all these other things and quit blaming dumb shit for my mental state and my mental health. And so that's when, I started writing again. We did a couple of new tracks with Meriwether that I thought were really great. And a lot of the stuff, you know, kind of pivoted. And I've got notes on my phone that are just miles long of lyrics and ideas and things like that. And so I've been turning those into What's This Andy Ford project. And when I went to Austin in January with the Thomas Brothers and Thomas Onabane, we did 4 songs in 3 days. And I left with this feeling that I hadn't felt since I was probably like 20, you know, of like, oh my God, that's why I sacrificed everything to do just this, was that feeling. And so like, no, I don't think that I'm ever going to like, you know, live in a 15 passenger van with 6 other guys and split $200 a night ever again. But I think it'd be really cool to like take this new fresh perspective and see what comes of it and, you know, give it a shot. So that's why I started the Andy Ford stuff. Hey Drew, it's Mom. Gosh, Mom, you're so embarrassing. I always use you guys as the MySpace success model. I don't know about that. Maybe Pure Volume. Pure Volume was this really killer like music streaming platform, and like they really focused on the bands, and we got in good with those dudes. It was great. You guys in Morningside Drive need another Houston, Louisiana weekend. I agree. I'll do that all the time. Squatch, which is a great platform. What I've realized is that so many people are trying to do Facebook Live that I think that whether it's servers or bandwidth or whatever, there's times like the other night on mine and the end of last night where like they start to kind of lag a bit and it's hard for them to catch up. It's not anything to do with anybody's internet. It's 100% Facebook, because the Twitch stream, this is all streaming to Facebook and to Twitch. All of that was fine. And I forgot to start Instagram, so they missed the story, but they'll get the song. Checking connection. The Rainbow Connection. Pure Volume was the shit. Pure Volume also had really awesome South by Southwest parties until they got weird. And it was like people covered in like glow sticks that had broken were like, you know, doing things with each other out in the open. I forget my mom's here. I can't talk like that. Hey, Mom, it's Drew. Martha. Did she call me Martha? Are you? Cool story, bro. Sing something. Thanks, Natalie. I remember where I was when Katrina hit. We were on tour, shocker. We were in the van and we were driving between El Paso, Texas and California. And in between El Paso, Texas and California, there's like barely anything. There's Arizona. You got 2 places in Arizona. You just got CSB'd. What's that even mean? Oh, cool story, bro. Oh, man. Is that? No, because that's Jonathan Tillman. So anyways, I was in the back of the van And I forget the name of the band that I was listening to at the time, but like, you know, this is pre-smartphone, probably like pre-Garmin, whatever. But anyways, in the back of the van, probably somewhere like in Arizona or New Mexico, and we get a phone call and we hear about Katrina hitting, and then we hear about all the stuff that's happening. We don't have internet on our phones, and we also can't call our families to check on them, because if you remember, if you were you know, affected or in the area when Katrina hit, like cell phones didn't work very well, if at all. It was just wild. So we were in this limbo state, of like the only facts that we have is like what the TV in the hotel room was showing, and you know, like, you just can't trust that sometimes, clearly. But so I started writing this song in my head, and I started writing down the lyrics in my notebook, and then we got to where we were going. We were going to we were going to Los Angeles, and we were going to be staying at the house where Bert, Zach Woodring, Paul O'Neill, Sean McCurley, Gary Garman, all these guys lived in this one big house. They called it the Louisiana Embassy, and it was one of the greatest times of my life. So we were going to stay with them, do a couple of showcases, et cetera, et cetera. Hey, Instagram, Tarantis. And I'd been working on this song, and these guys, like, they had a band. They practiced at the house. They let us use their practice room, which was like one of the spare rooms, which is actually the room that I lived in briefly, with just a bunch of mattresses up against the walls. And we wrote this song, and we just started immediately playing it. And we were already on tour. Make Your Move had come out. We were working on Sons of Our Fathers. So, like, it ended up coming back out on the Make Your Move 5-year anniversary thing, which is like, again, we had to do that to try to make any kind of recuperating expenses after getting dropped or taking ourselves off the label and whatnot. So that's when New Orleans Rest in Peace was like added to Make Your Move. It wasn't originally on there. And it's just been one of those songs that, it's a weird song. I don't know if it's the lyrics that people kind of attach to, or it's the emotion, but it's been a great like opening song for us for so long. It's just high energy. It's one of my favorite bridges. Josh has this bass line, and it's just a simple repeating bass line. But there's just something like really, really cool. I-10 in West Texas to Cali is a sweet drive. It is a sweet drive. If you can get past like the cow manure and like that one spot where there's like one gas station with like 200 miles on either side of it. So like if you don't go in that one, you're going to be kind of screwed. We also ran out of gas like 15 miles away from a gas station in the middle of the desert in like June. That wasn't cool. Oh, and that one bathroom, greatest bathroom graffiti of all time. I remember being in that bathroom and looking up at the door. You know, I'm in the stall and I look up at the door, and big black Sharpie, it says, Toy Story 2 was okay. Greatest bathroom graffiti of all time. Called You Simple. One of the first songs I learned on guitar. Main riff is fun and lyrics are dope. Thank you. Cool story. Now sing something. Anyways, this is New Orleans Rest in Peace. Robot here to systematically defeat all of the human race with the weapons of lights and sounds designed to confuse your little simple-minded brains. I am a god, I'm a machine, and I am playing all of you. And this is a fire, this is a flood. This is what drowning looks like from above. And this was a city, now it's the sea. This is what helplessness looks like to me. I am an airplane, I fly like superheroes, but I'm different cause I'm made of steel and pieces of paper with letters of love being thrown without a care somewhere deep into outer space, blown way out of proportion, yeah. And this is a fire, this is a flood. This is what drowning looks like from above. And this was a city, and now it's the sea. This is what helplessness looks like to me. Pray for our sinners, now and at the hour of our death. One nation under, water is all that was left. Pray for our sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Starts with the K, ends with the N, it was a storm, it was a beautiful fucking storm. In your paper, before you go, your paper before you go, before you go. Thank you very much. That was New Orleans Rest in Peace, or No Rip. I got a 99. That's an A. Sure got a purty singing mouth. You come off it. Haven't heard this stuff since 2007 at High Grounds. Man, I used to love playing at High Ground. Somebody earlier said they remember I got in trouble for like climbing on the rafters there. Doesn't sound like me at all. Definitely not me at all. Adios. That was legit a cool story. Just couldn't help myself. Yeah, thanks a whole lot. Thanks, Jude Barker. Are Peach and Daisy on the sofa? My kids would love to see them. They are.
They're hiding. They're being on their very best behavior.
Are they on their best behavior? They're hanging out with Amy Cake.
Can you go see Daddy?
Cassini.
There's one.
There's a Peach.
Can they both fit in your lap?
Yeah,
Are you sure?
we'll figure it out. There's a Peach, and there's a Daisy. Do you see them?
Daisy May.
Princess Peach, Princess Daisy. They are sisters. This one is a Chiweenie. This one is a Dachshund. Same mom, different dads. It happens. It's complicated. Trust, big trust. It is something that happens in nature. The ghost. I'm going to do the ghost pretty soon. Maybe. Little Miss Distraction. MGM 6191. I would love to do that song. That one is very hard. That riff is insane. And you kind of have to have like the whole band for that riff to sound any good.
You're going to take the microphone with them?
I am. They are. Peach, do you want to say something?
I'm just going to take a little.
You were really good, Dad. Thank you.
Here you go, Mama.
Appreciate it. You're welcome, Amanda. Amanda was who I got Peach and Daisy from. She still has their brother. I think. Do you still have their brother? Am I making that up? Anyways, Blake Bro was playing earlier. I saw he just jumped in the IG. You sounded amazing. Make sure to keep checking him out when he does this stuff. Justin McCoy, I think, is streaming now. He and I have talked about trying to figure out how to not, stream at the same time. I think we may start doing something where like we do like a songwriter circle where we can like combine our screens from one place to another, and like he plays a song and I play a song, and I'm gonna try and talk to Adam Dale, see if he'll do it, and then we can get like guests to come in and hop in, and we can talk about songwriting and cool stuff like that if you're into that kind of stuff. And don't forget, Brent Armstrong is streaming for the first time tonight. I think he starts at like 10 maybe. But yeah, you definitely need to check him out. His stuff's going to be really awesome. You have not missed iJulian. We always close with iJulian, except for the last show in December where we opened with it, and it really didn't go that well. So, you try it once. That's James Brent Armstrong, everybody. You're going to want to follow him on Facebook and go watch him stream later on. Appreciate that, homie. Got to figure my sound out. Dude, it's a whole different beast. Did I hear there was a girl in Mexico somewhere? No, I haven't done that one yet. I'd like to do some Arrows, like an Arrows song, maybe the next day or two. The project me and Brent had together. Maybe get him on that call or that live and maybe talk about some of that stuff. What else? I might do an acoustic Andy Ford track of one of the new Andy Ford songs. But yeah, still going to be doing Meriwether. I mean, there's, like I said, there's so much stuff to play, and I want to do a song or two a night without, like, blowing my load. Love you, Mom. But yeah, I think this has been really fun. I think tomorrow, yeah, I put the wrong title. This is not night 5, it's night 6. See, I'm so bad at this technology shit. So tomorrow will be a week. So thank you guys for hanging out. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. I'll be taking requests for tomorrow's song after, if you post it on my Facebook page or on Instagram, send me a message. And Twitch. Peace out, you guys. Wait, hold on. No, this one.
No, it's this way.
Wait. Choink, choink, choink. You're dead now. You're dead. Bye.